Today we'll be focusing on enhancing the impact of clinical trials. And I just wanted to give a brief introduction to the CTSC. So the Clinical and Translational Science Collaborative of Northern Ohio is a collaborative among Case Western Reserve University and its affiliated partners that include Cleveland Clinic, Metro Health, University Hospitals, VA, Northeast Ohio Health System, Northeast Ohio Medical University, and the University of Toledo. So the CTSC aspires to be a catalyst for high-quality clinical and translational science and transformative research to positively impact the health of those in Northern Ohio and beyond. So this is being accomplished through 5 key areas and initiatives that you can see here on this slide. So resources and services, workforce development, community engagement, health informatics, and clinical and translational funding opportunities. To learn more, you can visit the CTSC website, and there'll be some QR codes and links at the end of the presentation. So today I'd like to welcome Dr. Princess Ogbogu and Heather Tribout for a discussion on enhancing the impact of clinical trials. So Dr. Ogbogu is the director for the Division of Pediatric Allergy, Immunology, and Rheumatology for University Hospitals Rainbow Babies. She's also the division chief for both Pediatric Allergy and Immunology and Pediatric Rheumatology. With her, we also have Heather Tribout. She is the manager for the Research Support Corps at the UH Clinical Research Center. And they both are part of the Trial Innovation Network Liaison Team for the CTSC. And with that, I will turn it over to you both.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Heather Tribout. I'm here with Dr. Ogbogu, and we're going to discuss enhancing the impact of clinical trials, specifically through the Trial Innovation Network and resources. So a quick poll of the audience who's here today. In the chat, can you please list your research role, or if you're not in research, list your role and affiliation. Looks like we have 3 responses so far. Looks like we have a couple in research administration. Students. Any nurses or coordinators or PIs in the audience? Okay. There's some fellows and masters. Oh, we have a coordinator. Awesome.
I think we have a good mix.
Yes.
And anyone who's a principal investigator on studies? Okay.
All right. So we're going to discuss the CTSC Trial Innovation Network today. And if you don't already know, the Trial Innovation Network is a collaborative through the NCAT, and it seeks to address critical roadblocks in clinical research, and hopefully will help accelerate the translation of novel research into clinical practice. It is a member of the Trial Innovation Network, and we'll call it TIN for short. There's a lot of acronyms, so I just want to make that clear. It took me a long time to try to remember the TIN and all of the different CTSC acronyms. But like Mackenzie said, there's a lot of different resources provided through the various channels and resources within the CTSC, and the TIN specifically has different programs to optimize clinical trials and research studies by developing your proposals into a study protocol, optimizing your study operations or study conduct, and enhancing recruitment and enrollment. So the TIN will provide services for multi-center clinical trials and research studies. So this is a little bit different than other resources available through our CTSC. So we're going to focus today on discussing all the different resources available to investigators and study teams that maybe want to try, submitting a multi-center trial and seeking participation from other sites within other CTSA networks. And eligibility includes full-time faculty at one of our Cleveland affiliated institutions, like Mackenzie said, University Hospitals, Metro Health, Cleveland Clinic, VA, NEOMed, Toledo. Western, did I already say that? There's 7 of them. And then these slides we sent out, so there's hyperlinks for more information if you want to go to trialinnovationnetwork.org for more resources, and then there's also some on the CASE webpage. So what is the TIN? The TIN is going to help operationalize the innovation, excellence, and collaboration. And basically, there's multi-center studies in the TIN. You can submit a proposal. The TIN will help you identify resources needed. You know, if you have a hypothesis, like what resources do I need to conduct this trial? Do you need help with funding? Do you need help with recruitment? Do you need help identifying collaborators or principal investigators? And this is a diagram. It was hard for me to understand, so I don't expect everyone to understand the flow of this. But basically, our hub is over here on the left. So there's over 60 hubs, and those hubs also can act as collaborators for these multi-center trials. The resources within the TIN are through the Innovation Centers, University of Utah, Johns Hopkins, and Vanderbilt. And we'll go over what the TICs and the RICs are too. So Dr. Ogbogu and I are your frontline Trial Innovation Network hub liaison. So if you have questions about, you know, different TIN resources, if you have multi-center study ideas and you want to explore the TIN or be connected to any of the other sites, you can contact us directly. And then we can also provide you with resources locally to help get your studies off the ground. So the proposal process is through the Trial Innovation Network directly. You can request consultations and different services for your multi-center trials. And this will help develop your hypotheses and proposals into actual research protocols, help with study operations, study conduct, and recruitment and retention. And if you go to the Trial Innovation Network webpage, there's a ton of resources from different CTSC institutions. Let's say you have a study struggling to enroll, to recruit. There's different tools and templates available that you can use for your own site. So even flyers, or, you know, how do I create a text message template to help with recruitment? So you can find those for free at the TIN webpage. Another quick poll: what types of research services may benefit you or your study team? And you can enter your response in the chat. If you don't know, what are some of the services you may be interested in?
Nothing in the chat so far, so maybe we can just talk
Oh,
through.
everyone has a perfect protocol.
Yeah.
No one needs help. Okay. Well, here are some types of the TIN support that we can provide. There's initial consultation. So if you have a study, we can take a look at it and help, you know, if it meets the criteria for going to the TIN directly, we can help review it and help you submit it in the TIN portal. We also can review your proposals and help identify resources needed for, you know, your protocol, or even to get it off the ground. So maybe you need protocol enhancement, maybe you need informed consent templates. We can identify different resources to help you navigate through the study startup process. And then once you have some of the documents ready, there's comprehensive consultations available directly through the TIN. So once you meet eligibility criteria, or your study does, then the TIN will take over and the different institutions will help review your proposals and provide a more in-depth review and guidance. And then there's also resources available through the different hubs. So let's say you need a coordinating center for data. The TIN can identify an institution to help with that. So initial consultation, study design, budget, timeline, recruitment, feasibility, and innovations in the clinical effectiveness trial design. And different resources available. They can help with contracts and different legal agreements. They do single support or SMART IRB, recruitment retention, feasibility, recruitment materials are available. There's also community engagement studios if your project is looking to go out to underserved communities. There's also electronic medical record-based cohort assessments, and then also the trial design. And then the comprehensive consultations, it'll help partner your site or your investigator with other sites that may be interested in participating in the study. They'll go through your feasibility and recruitment plan for your multi-center trial, protocol development, and then they'll help identify sites and refine the budget to ensure it can support a multi-center trial across the U.S. Then trial implementation resources, project management, regulatory support, so FDA regulatory if it's a drug or device trial, also local regulatory for IRB submissions through the SMART single site IRB. Site management, so if it's a multi-center trial, they can provide resources for like a project manager to oversee all of the trials for sites, help develop case report forms. There's also systems for site selection, site initiation visits, and protocol training, data management, study closeout, and stats. And here's a few examples of different TIN use cases. This is from a couple years ago, but just to give you an idea of some of the studies that were submitted to the TIN. So an initial consult, it was a randomized prospective trial for 165 participants, and this trial utilized the TIC and the RIC for recruitment and retention and a single IRB plan. It looks like that funding was complete, and hopefully that trial is still going on. And then if your study is maybe struggling to enroll, you can also submit a request for provision of resources. So there's a phase 3 randomized placebo-controlled trial looking for 1,200 participants, and they utilize the TIC and the RIC for a community engagement studio, probably to help with different recruitment plans and materials. Because a large trial like this, you probably have to enroll patients that may not be a part of your medical center. So the experts from the TIC and the RIC will help walk through different recruitment strategies and approaches to engage the community in different avenues to try to get more patients into the study. And it looks like that study was funded and the resources are complete. And then there was a pediatric trial, multi-center phase 3, and that study needed staff support and recruitment, retention, and budgeting. And the last one was trial implementation resources, another phase 3. They needed help with the data coordinating center and clinical coordinating center. So 10 resources in action. Recruitment and retention. So I think this is probably one of the biggest areas study teams struggle with. How do you recruit and enroll, and how do you retain participants in your trial? Highly recommend going through the CTSC and or TIN for these resources. You'll be connected with someone who has, on-the-ground experience recruiting and retaining patients, and we can help you develop strategies and put you in the right direction for different innovative solutions to help your trial. There's also expressions of interest, so other sites within the CTSA may be looking for, sites to participate in their studies. Maybe they're active studies, they need additional sites to meet their enrollment goal, or maybe it's a brand new trial and they're just looking for partners. We receive expressions of interest probably at least once a month, and we will send those out to different investigators and study teams that may be interested in the disease or the indication. And then lastly, the other resource that's available is the single institutional IRB. It's more recent where we're going towards a single site IRB, especially for federally funded studies. There's some challenges with that. We have to get reliant review agreements, and also can affect budget. So if you've never submitted study to a single IRB, definitely work with the CTSC and the TIN. And then recruitment and retention strategies. Like I said before, we'll provide expert advice on different methods to help you recruit and retain your patients. We can look at cohort assessment, help with community engagement, and recruitment materials. Here's some of the resources available. So planning, cohort assessment, engagement, recruitment materials. We do use Epic and MyChart now here at UH, and I know Metro and Cleveland Clinic also use Epic. Oh, is there a question? Okay. And then I would say newer for the last year or two, the digital recruitment tools and templates is a pretty hot topic. Available through at least the UH RedCap, we have the Twilio automated texting and voice calling, and that has been extremely helpful in engaging our research participants. It's cost effective, it's a penny per text message, and definitely helps keep our participants engaged, but can also recruit the masses with using short or long code texting. So if you have studies that are recruiting a large number of patients, or maybe struggling to keep the patients engaged throughout the life of the study, definitely reach out to us. So the expressions of interest, this is, like I said, when there's a trial that's established and they're looking for collaborators within CTSA, and it will connect your study team and or PI with over 60 different hubs. So you submit one request, you have one protocol, you're looking for other sites to participate in a multi-center study, you submit it, and then it'll be disseminated to all of the sites at once. And then you could ask all the sites to query their EMRs to see if it's feasible to do at their institution. You could ask the different sites to identify a PI who may be interested in participating. And then the expression of interest will also help review the protocol for feasibility and the budget. So you could be early on planning for your study, not even have a final budget yet, and try to identify sites to help, conduct the trial. That way, when you get to the budget review, we can incorporate the cost for each of the sites that agree to participate. And I've seen different funding sources go through the CTSA EOI, that's what we call it, expressions of interest. I've seen federal, I've seen foundation and industry. This is just a diagram of how the different expression of interest are received and tracked. And this slide is just an overview of a SMART IRB. So it's a little tricky with single site IRBs, but that's why they have the resources available through the TIN. So if your trial is going through the TIN, we'll definitely help you with the single site IRB and connect you to a local regulatory coordinator. And the process for submitting to the TIN, you'll submit for your local CTSA resources through myself and Dr. Ogbogu, and we'll connect you to the different resources at CASE and our other sites. And then we'll connect you to the CTSA leadership, and then connect you to the Trial Innovation Network by helping you submit the online application. So who should apply for the TIN resources? Investigators that are going to lead a multi-center clinical trial, so that's important. It also has to be an investigator from one of our CTSA institutions. And, I would recommend reaching out as early as possible. I wouldn't get to the point where you already have an IRB already approved, or you're submitting for an FDA application. I would do it ahead of time, because that will affect the documents that you're submitting. So if you have an idea to do a multi-center trial, I would reach out, and then we can help you through the protocol development phase and budgeting. So even if you're looking for funding, highly recommend submitting through the CTSC 10. little diagram, what was summarized. So what makes a good TIN submission? Multi-center, so 3 or more institutions interested in collaborating with the TIN. Has to be innovative operational approach, collaborations with other CTSA institutions, all populations affected by the health condition, and time to react to prior to the grant submission. So some of the EOIs or TIN submissions I've seen, they're looking for sites, or they're looking to identify sites starting about fall 2025. So it's usually about a year out before you actually want to conduct the trial. So the TIN metrics were last updated in April 2022, but there were a total of 376 proposals submitted to the TIN. So 376 multi-center trials over 72 therapeutic areas. And as you can see, Case Western, we only had 2 submissions. I want to say in 2023, and so far 2024, we have not had any. But our goal is for the rest of 2024 and 2025 to encourage people to submit multi-center trials to the TIN. Just a breakdown of number of sites per proposal. So you can see the majority of research projects submitting to the TIN is between 1 and 5 sites. So we're not looking for 50 sites. And this is a breakdown of different therapeutic areas. We do see a large majority of cardiovascular diseases and neurology requests come through. So if you're on a study team or your PIs are not receiving expressions of interest, it's probably because we haven't received a request for that indication yet. And this is just a breakdown of the different resources that are requested through the TIN. So as you can see, study planning is probably a big one. Recruitment and retention is huge. And then, assess the feasibility assessments and standard agreements, I would say, come next. Those processes can be difficult to navigate. So why would you engage with the TIN? Well, it helps streamline your multi-center clinical trial processes. It'll help you get national support from different hubs. It will reduce the time required to develop a multi-center trial. So as you can imagine, it takes a long time to seek funding, identify different sites, get the PIs on board, make sure all the sites have their budgets, get a multi-center project manager, study coordinator, and then to disseminate all of the study materials to each of the sites, in addition to submitting to the IRB. So if you leverage the TIN resources, we can help you with all of that. And then we'll partner with other NIH institutions and centers, hopefully to identify large grants for funding, and it is pretty competitive. Are there any questions that we can answer? Quiet group.
I actually was wondering, so I am part of the workforce development special interest group, and yesterday they had somebody come to present on this training academy. So it's from Hopkins, which I didn't know that they were one of the, I don't remember what you called it, one of the like innovation sites. So they actually had someone come to present about this new training academy. They didn't say exactly when, sometime I guess later this year. And I didn't know if you had any information on that or if like our site was planning to be a part of that. But it seemed really interesting. They are targeting it towards a lot of like newer PIs who have done single site clinical trials, but maybe don't have the expertise to expand to multi-site.
Yeah, I have not heard of that, but I'd be interested in learning more to see if we can bring that here.
Mackenzie, do you know if it was part of their TIN?
Yeah, so the representative who came to present is like I think the coordinator for their TIN. And they said someone did ask if this was going to be open, to all CTSAs, other TINs, and they said yes, that it is not specifically just for Hopkins.
We could definitely reach out. Thank you for letting us know that. Maybe we'll connect offline to find out who the representative was.
Yeah, I can send you her name, and I think that'd be good if we could connect. It seems like they did a bunch of um, surveys and things to see what would be the most effective for them, even in terms of the format of this program. And it looks like it's going to be something like 12 classes over the course of a year.
Oh, yeah, that's really nice. I think a lot of our investigators struggle. They're pretty good at doing single site studies, right? Like that's easy. You have your own local team, but it can be scary to get a multi-center trial out there unless you're really experienced and used to doing that.
Hi, Heather. It's Jerry. I'm just wondering if can people request TIN services through Spark, or what's the best way to get involved?
I would reach out to us directly. Our email addresses, me and Dr. Ogbogu, and then we can direct you to the right resources and pathway. Sometimes people think they need the TIN services, or maybe think they don't need the TIN services. So before we start adding the request to the different databases out there, it's best if we meet with you, and then we can help you navigate the process.
I also saw that there are a good number of students on here, so I don't know if any of the students wanted to put in the chat or to unmute themselves to talk about, what brought them here today, if there was anything that's of specific interest for them, or either if you could discuss, any of the services that might be specific or helpful to them.
Do any of the fellows or students want to drop in the chat what brought you here today? Are you actively involved in research or looking to get involved in research? Everyone's getting lunch.
I think anyone could also reach out to us afterwards with any questions if you had ones that you came later wanted to discuss offline.
It's possible some of these students are from the M1 classes that Dr. McCumty and I spoke with Tuesday and today, actually, just because they have a research requirement in their curriculum for next summer. So they're starting to kind of think about that and think about mentors.
If there's a comment. Okay.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank
There's
you.
a ton of
Yep.
resources available. All you have to do is reach out. Even if you don't know what you may need, we can help with that.
Yeah, when I follow up today, I will be sure to put both of your contact information. So if some of these students are interested in reaching out to you, they could do so.
Yeah. And I highly recommend visiting the trialinnovationnetwork.org webpage. There's a ton of resources. I was just on it yesterday. So if you get stuck, if you're even designing a study that's single site, you don't necessarily need the 10 resources. If you need a template for a flyer, let's say, they have all those resources available for free on the 10 webpage. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat, so I can just share I have a few QR codes. So the first one is for next month's Science Cafe. So the date has actually changed. So this will be on October 24th from 12 to 1 p.m. And this will be with Dr. McMurdo, who will talk about some of the important things to think about and consider when doing community-based research. And she'll also provide an update on some of the work that she's doing. The center QR code is for you to provide feedback from today's session. And also there's an area where you can put in suggestions for future topics for some of the other science cafes. And then the last QR code is to become a member of the CTSC. And then you'll be able to stay up to date with the upcoming events. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions or comments. Otherwise, I will follow up with the attendees via email.
May I make a comment?
Oh, yes.
I'm Sabah Valapkan from the School of Medicine, Case Western Reserve University. I just wanted to share that we have created an AI-powered tool that would help with the implementation plan. It essentially takes a grant or even a draft of a grant and would provide a detailed stepwise guidance for creating an implementation plan, including equity plan built in within it. And so listening to this great talk about TINS and all the services they offer, I just thought that maybe we can just merge these services and include this tool in the services that are offered. I believe that it can be of value to all the investigators who are using this valuable service.
Yeah, thank you, Saba, for jumping on to mention this. Is that okay if I put your contact information in the email? So if people are interested in learning more about that, they can email you. Perfect. Okay, I don't see anything else, so we will conclude the session. Thank you for coming to talk about the TIN today.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having us.